Welcome to Jaipur.
Hello and welcome. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. It is just after 7:30 p.m. in New Delhi, 3 in the afternoon in London and 10 in the morning in Washington, D.C. And you're watching a special broadcast here on DD India. Over the next 90 minutes, we'll get you the latest on Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Ghana. Remember, Prime Minister Modi has left New Delhi on a 9-day tour of the Global South that will take him to Ghana and Namibia in Africa, Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean, and Argentina and Brazil in South America, not in that order though. But it's the longest foreign tour by Prime Minister Modi in over a decade. So you can expect India to champion the cause and voice of the Global South in each of those 5 countries. We'll take you live to Ghana's capital, Accra, where my colleague Tapas Bhattacharya is standing by. We'll also be joined by guests who will put the visit in its proper context for you, the viewer. All right then, let's get started. First up, an overview of Prime Minister Modi's 5-nation tour of the Global South. As the next report will tell you, the visit will have a strong focus on strengthening India's partnerships in the Global South.
The tour begins in the West African nation of Ghana, a visit that holds immense historical and strategic significance as it will be the first by an Indian Prime Minister in 3 decades. In Ghana, discussions are expected to revolve around enhancing economic, energy, and defense collaborations. India is already Ghana's largest buyer of goods, with gold making up over 70% of imports from the country. The visit aims to explore further avenues for trade and investment, including critical minerals, digital infrastructure, and the establishment of a vaccine hub in Ghana to serve the wider West African region. Prime Minister Modi is also slated to address the Ghanian parliament, a gesture underscoring the strong democratic values shared by both the nations. Following Ghana, PM Modi will visit Trinidad and Tobago, where he will be the first Indian Prime Minister to undertake a bilateral visit since 1999. The visit to this Caribbean nation, which has a significant Indian diaspora, aims to strengthen bilateral partnerships across key areas and reaffirm enduring ties with the Caribbean. The third leg of the tour takes the Prime Minister to Argentina, marking the first bilateral visit by an Indian PM in 57 years. The focus here will be on expanding strategic partnerships in diverse sectors such as defense, agriculture, mining, oil and gas, and renewable energy. From Argentina, PM Modi will proceed to Brazil to attend the much anticipated 17th BRICS summit. This will be his 4th visit to Brazil as Prime Minister. At the BRICS summit, PM Modi is expected to engage in crucial discussions on global issues including the reform of international institutions, peace and security, responsible use of artificial intelligence, climate action, and strengthening multilateral cooperation. Bilateral meetings with various world leaders on the sidelines of the summit are also anticipated. Brazil is currently India's largest trading partner in South America, making this a vital stop for economic collaboration. The final destination on this extensive tour will be Namibia, where PM Modi's visit comes after a 27-year gap. The visit underscores India's commitment to strengthening ties with Southern Africa, with talks expected to cover trade, defense, energy, space, technology, farming, and healthcare. PM Modi will also address the Parliament of Namibia. Overall, this 5-nation tour is seen as a strategic move by India to bolster its presence and influence on the global stage, particularly within the Global South. Bureau Report, DD India.
So as we speak, Prime Minister Modi's aircraft is making its way to Ghana. The visit is at the invitation of President John Dramani Mahama. Ghana is all set to roll out the red carpet for the Prime Minister. The visit is aimed at deepening the India-Ghana ties across trade, technology and development. In his departure statement, the Prime Minister underscored that Ghana is a valued partner in the Global South and plays an important role in the African Union and the economic community of West African states. The Prime Minister said he looked forward to his exchanges aimed at further deepening the historical ties and opening up new windows of cooperation, including in the areas of investment, energy, health, security, capacity building and development partnership. The Prime Minister will also address the Parliament of Ghana. And my colleague Tapas Bhattacharya is in Accra and he sent us this report. Take a look.
India and Ghana share warm, time-tested ties built on common democratic values and a shared vision for development. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Ghana from July 2nd to 3rd is not just symbolic, it's a strategic move to reinforce South-South cooperation. This is the first high-level visit by an Indian Prime Minister in 30 years, signaling a renewed focus on Africa.
There will be delegation-level talks, during which the bilateral relations will be reviewed and also discuss various ways to strengthen and deepen bilateral relations. Honorable Prime Minister will have a one-on-one meeting with his counterpart. Then there will be a banquet dinner in honor of Honorable Prime Minister. The next day, Prime Minister will be addressing the Parliament, and he also will be interacting with the Indian community there, which is about 15,000 in number.
Trade and investment and development cooperation are the key pillars of India-Ghana relations. Leaders from both nations are expected to explore new areas for collaboration with a strong focus on economic growth and inclusive partnership. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will also address Ghana's parliament in this trip.
During the visit, there will be few focus items. Will be agriculture, where the Ghanaian leader, the president, is keen to engage with India. He is also keen on the vaccine development, creating a vaccine hub in Ghana, for not just Ghana, but also the West Africa context. Defense cooperation will become an important item on the agenda, and the critical minerals and the digital public infrastructure.
Prime Minister Modi's visit aims to elevate bilateral cooperation across strategic sectors and reaffirm India's commitment to the Global South. The visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi aims to deepen ties across key sectors including economy, energy, defense and development cooperation, marking a significant diplomatic push in Ghana and a common vision for both India and Ghana for the Global South. With camera person Rakesh, this is Tapas Bhattacharya for DD India from Accra, Ghana.
And here is Tapas again with how Ghanaian newspapers are covering the Indian Prime Minister's visit.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi is all set for a five-nation visit, and the first stop is Ghana. And right now, I'm at the capital of Ghana, Accra, where we have got a glimpse of what exactly is happening. There's in fact on road you will find a lot of posters of Prime Minister Narendra Modi welcoming him, and let's find out what the newspapers are talking about. This is the first newspaper, Daily Graphic. The headline is Fortifying Golden Alliance. This is the newspaper, that's the headline, and just below the headlines you can see Narendra Modi's visit to Ghana. That's written here, and also it shows how both the country can work together. There's a economic and trade relation. In fact, political and diplomatic relations were set up way back in 1953 when India had a full-fledged diplomatic relation, and it also had a high commission in Accra. So that they also mentioned the fact that there is a 15,000 Indian diaspora here in Ghana, which is working in Ghana, and actually is working for the upliftment of the Ghanaian people. Now, there's a second newspaper, which is the Daily Guide, which is a very interesting headline that they have come up with. In fact, One Earth, One Family, One Future, they have also come up with this. And this also showcases, the welcoming Prime Minister Narendra Modi, how the both countries can work together in, as Prime Minister Modi mentioned in the fact in G20 that it's a one Earth, it's a one family, it's a global South that one has to work together, one future. So that's something that they've been mentioning, they've been talking about. So both countries are expected to sign MOUs, which is expected to be a game changer for both Ghana and India. And it is expected that Prime Minister Modi's this particular visit will be a major game changer for both countries' diplomatic relations as well. With camera person Momukur Sharma, this is Taposh Bhattacharya for DD India from Accra, Ghana.
And Tapas now joins us live from Accra. Also joining us are two guests, Ambassador Gurjeet Singh and Professor Ajay Kumar Dubey. Ambassador Singh is a former Indian envoy to Ethiopia, Djibouti and the African Union. He is also a former Indian ambassador to Germany, Indonesia, Timor-Leste and ASEAN. And Professor Dubey is with the School of International Studies at Jawaharlal Nehru University in New Delhi. Gentlemen, welcome to this broadcast. Before we get to the visit, Tapas, you have spent the last few days in Accra. What are your first impressions about the city and country?
Well, Ramesh, it's a beautiful city. It's a city in transition. We see a lot of project going on. There's a lot of construction going on. It's a city which is, it's aspiring to be developed. There are a lot of things that India is currently working with Accra, with the Ghana, and that one can see. In fact, the Jubilee Halls where Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be going today, later in the evening here in Accra time, in Ghana time. That was, the construction and the funding of that was done mainly by India, and a lot of effort has been gone in that particular place. If you take a close look at the development side, if you take a close look at the construction infrastructure development that is currently happening, India is playing a pivotal role here in the capacity building also that one can see. So overall, as I mentioned, it's a beautiful city. It's a city in transition, and one believes that with both countries signing the MOUs and looking to forge ahead in the partnership, Ghana will take a leaf out of India's notebook and Prime Minister Narendra Modi's last decade of development and actually chug along in its development progress that it has been talking about. In fact, we spoke to a few people here and they all praised Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision and the way what he has done in this particular in India, and they want the same thing to be replicated here in Ghana.
Right, Tapas, stay on. Let me also bring in our guests who are joining us on this broadcast. Ambassador Singh, coming to you first. How would you describe Prime Minister Modi's visit to Ghana?
Thank you, Ramesh. Good to see you again.
Welcome.
I'm so happy that the Prime Minister is utilizing his visit to Brazil in a most effective manner by going to several countries on the way. Brazil is very far away, but it gives you the opportunity, which is well grasped, to, in this case, to visit Ghana, Trinidad and Tobago, Argentina, and on the return to Namibia. Now, Ghana is one of the early countries to become independent. They became independent in 1957. But you may recall that in 1955, I think, when we held the Afro-Asian Conference in Bandung about 75 or 70 years ago, India shepherded Ghana as Gold Coast, the Republic of Gold Coast, into the Committee of Afro-Asian Nations, even though it was not independent yet. So it was one of the 6 African countries present in Bandung at that time. And today you see the number of African countries. India itself has about 48 missions, and Ghana is among the oldest. You see many buildings in Ghana, and some of the most important ones were actually constructed through Indian development cooperation. This is unique because normally Indian development cooperation did not go into civil works in such a large way, but Ghana showed that, and Ghana has also shown how it has used Indian assistance for railways, roads, and the like. I think from what your correspondent was saying, and I think we showed a clip of Secretary ER, certainly trade, technology, investment is all very high on the agenda. But I think critical minerals and the defense partnership and bringing together the options of the global south is perhaps on the top of the agenda. Ghana has been consistently participating in Indian led events, whether they be for the International Solar Alliance, the India Africa Conclave, or the India Africa Forum Summit. So I think it's very useful. Finally, I would like to say that the return of President Mahama in a second term, there is a gap between his two terms. He has just been elected for a second term now. It's very good that Prime Minister Modi is visiting Ghana at the start of President Mahama's term, as he will in Namibia, where also the new president, a lady, is now starting her term. So I think these are very effective possibilities of building a modern South-South relationship with Ghana.
Indeed, Ambassador Singh, thank you for that comprehensive overview, as it were, of the India-Ghana relations. Professor Dubey, coming to you now, it took a long time coming, but it's finally happening. How do you view this visit?
I think this visit is part of India's effort to bridge the gap of top political leadership reaching out to African leaders. And there had been several top-level visits, and this is one of them. The important thing about Ghana visit is that India had a very close relation with Ghana much before even Ghana became independent. And Nkrumah and Nehru were very close friends. They worked together for Afro-Asian resurgence. African leaders were invited by Nehru and others in the meeting much before Ghana became independent. 1947 Asian Relation Conference also, there were several African leaders who got represented in Asia Relation Conference organized in Sapru House during those days. The point remains that Ghana is just not important for India as a southern country from Africa. It is much more important for two reasons. One, that historically Ghana and India relations were very strong.
Right.
And secondly, the West Africa, which is dominated by Francophone countries, Ghana remain our gateway to these Francophone countries who are part of ECOWAS, who are breaking out of ECOWAS, and who are establishing new Sahel alliance in the region, where if we want to reach out, Ghana remains the most important country for us. And that's what we should look towards.
Right. Point taken. Tapas, before we let you go, a quick word from you about the visit itself. Give us a flavor of what's happening around you as we speak.
Well, I can tell you that already people are queuing up to get a glimpse of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. In fact, if I can just tell my cameraman just to pan out here, you can see people are actually, waving the Indian flag and absolutely chanting Prime Minister Narendra Modi's name. Are you excited to welcome Prime Minister Modi?
Yes, we are extremely excited to welcome our Prime Minister in the country of Ghana. And the proud thing is, I represent Shapurji Palanji. The Jubilee House, where he's going to be giving a speech tomorrow, is constructed by an Indian company.
That's a huge point. And also, kid, you have got a portrait of Prime Minister. See, that's the kind of craze in the young kids from Prime Minister Modi. He has made this portrait of Prime Minister Modi here. And as I said, a lot of people are queuing up here. They are waiting to get a glimpse of Prime Minister Modi. And why not? He's representing 1.4 billion. It's an extended family who's coming here and waiting for him here. So everybody is all set to welcome him here in Accra. Ramesh.
I will leave there for now. Tapas, we'll come back to you for more as we go along. Right, let me quickly walk you through the Prime Minister's itinerary in Ghana. The Prime Minister's aircraft will land very shortly at the Kotoka International Airport in a short while from now. After the ceremonial welcome at the airport and at his hotel, the Prime Minister will hold certain bilateral meetings. MOUs would be signed after the talks end, and PM Modi and President Mahama will then deliver press statements thereafter. A dinner will bring the curtain down on day one of his visit to Ghana. On Wednesday, day 2, he will interact with the Indian diaspora and address the Ghanaian Parliament. Right, so as our colleague Tapas was reporting from Accra, a sense of anticipation, excitement among the Indian diaspora who are waiting to welcome an Indian Prime Minister in Accra in more than 3 decades. Now, India opened its representative office in Accra in 1953 prior to Ghana's independence and established full-fledged diplomatic relations with Ghana in 1957, immediately after it attained independence from Britain. Now, India is among the top trading partners of Ghana, but the balance of trade favors Ghana. In other words, India imports more from Ghana than it exports to it. Tapas Bhattacharya has more.
India and Ghana share a vibrant and growing partnership rooted in development, cooperation and mutual progress. Through concessional lines of credit and grants, India has extended support worth nearly $450 million to Ghana for key infrastructure and capacity building projects. Among the notable contribution, India provided a $1 million grant to upgrade the Kofi Annan ICT Center in 2016 and another $1 million to rehabilitate the Jubilee House Presidential Complex in 2017. Capacity building remains a strong pillar of bilateral ties. Under various scholarship schemes, hundreds of Ghanaians have benefited from world-class education and training opportunities in India. As part of the Pan-African E-Vidya Bharati and E-Arogya Bharati initiative, India set up a state-of-the-art learning center at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology in Kumasi, providing high-quality tele-education and telemedicine services. Ghana was the first country to roll out the project in 2020, and over 1,600 scholarships have since been awarded. India stood by Ghana during the pandemic too, supplying over 1.6 million vaccines more though the COVAX initiative. On the trade front, India is among Ghana's top partners and the largest buyer of its gold. Ghana's export to India also includes cocoa, cashew nuts and timber. Indian companies have invested in 820 projects worth $1.92 billion since 1994, making India one of the top investors in Ghana. From infrastructure to education, from pharmaceuticals to agribusiness, India's footprint in Ghana reflects a true spirit of South-South cooperation. India and Ghana, partners in progress, building shared future. With cameraperson Rakesh and More Mukut, along with my engineer Saurav, this is Tapas Bhattacharya reporting for DD India from Ghana.
Well, Singh, talking about the meetings that will take place in Accra, you think trade and investment would figure high on India's agenda?
Yes, certainly the economic partnership is perhaps the highest order. Now let's break it down. Sure. I think the best story which Ghana is looking for is Indian investment. They already have, I think, close to 2 billion, and that puts us in second spot among the foreign investors in Ghana. Now that is what most African countries look to India for. And that is why I have always been supporting an private sector FDI-led model of cooperation with African. Now the second part is the lines of credit. I think the period when the lines of credit were offered or even buyer's credit was offered, that has run its course. India has to find a new way of engaging African countries. Or let's take Ghana itself. I think it is the 17th time that Ghana has gone to the IMF. Now, and being under IMF restrictions, it is unlikely to be able to borrow more from India or anybody else. So therefore, we have to move to a FDI-led PPP project base and find a new model of economic partnership. The third aspect is trade. Frankly, what Ghana can offer us beyond gold is actually very limited. So this trade of about $3 billion is not going to grow unless Indian exports see a surge. Where can these Indian exports come from? They can come from new projects. They can come from new investment, which will then bring manufacturing machinery and services from India. And most of all, I think it is the nascent defense relationship. If Ghana can start buying Indian defense equipment for its requirements, then I think there is a new line of engagement which could open.
Indeed. Professor Dubey, talking about the next big idea, as it were, in the India-Ghana relationship, do you think defense and security cooperation would qualify for greater attention?
I think so. The region is very volatile. Besides the developmental challenge, the region is becoming unstable. ECOWAS, the Economic Community of West African States, has become very fragile. A large number of countries are revolting against that. 3 of them have already formed an alliance. They have decided to form a common military and defense forces, and they are looking for non-Western sources. We don't have very strong relationship with many of them. The 10 countries of Africa, most of whom are Anglophone, they constitute 90% of our trade. So this entire region is a potential area for India to engage them into defense cooperations and to reach out to Francophone states through Ghana. So Ghana is a gateway. Moreover, Ghana president who has come back second time, Mahana, is very open that he wants to shift his cooperation, his strategy of engagement from the Western country to newly emergent country or countries of the South, countries like India. And therefore, we look forward to his leadership and Prime Minister visit over there to have a new kind of engagement, not just for Ghana, but for the entire region, which is becoming a potential area for Indian engagement now.
Indeed. Professor Dubey, Ambassador Singh, do stay on. I'll come back to you momentarily. In the meantime, a quick word about Ghana. The country is situated on the coast of the Gulf of Guinea in Western Africa. Although relatively small in area and population, Ghana is one of the leading countries of Africa, partly because of its considerable natural wealth and partly because it was the first black African country south of the Sahara to achieve independence from colonial rule. Modern-day Ghana, which gained its independence on 6th March 1957, consists primarily of the former Gold Coast.
Ghana, the first sub-Saharan African nation to gain independence, has long been a beacon of stability and progress in West Africa. Formerly known as the Gold Coast, it broke free from British colonial rule in 1957, inspiring liberation movement across Africa. Now, when we look at Ghana, with gold, cocoa and now oil driving its economy, Ghana has actually transformed into one of the region's most dynamic nations. The country takes its name from the ancient Ghana Empire, a medieval trading powerhouse once upon a time. Its modern history is rich and complex, from the rise of the mighty Ashanti Kingdom in the 1700s to the British colonization and multiple Anglo-Ashanti wars. Independence came in 1957, led by Kwame Nkrumah, who helped found the non-alignment movement as well. Though Ghana faced political turbulence in the following decades, democratic stability returned in 1992 with the new constitution and multi-party election. Today, Ghana stands tall, a democratic nation with a booming youth population, thriving cultural heritage and growing global presence. The capital is Accra, The population is 32.1 million, and the languages, well, apart from English, there are 11 more local languages that's there. Ghana's journey is one of resilience, pride, and promise. With camera person Rakesh and more Mukesh Sharma, along with my engineer Saurav, this is Tapush Bhattacharya for DD India from Ghana.
Now, if you're wondering why Ghana matters, well, trade for one. Ghana is India's second largest trading partner in Western Africa after Nigeria. Ghana is the 8th largest oil producer in Africa. Ghana is a member of the Economic Community of West African States, also known as ECOWAS. Now, ECOWAS is a regional bloc of 15 countries. For India, stronger ties with Ghana means greater access to Western Africa. Next is democracy. Ghana is an oasis of democracy in Western Africa. Since 1996, the country has seen 8 peaceful transfers of power through democratic elections. It is unusual in a region struggling with repeated military coups. Now, security is another aspect. Security in the Sahel region is worsening. The Sahel is a semi-arid region between the Sahara Desert to the north and tropical Africa to the south. Ghana's neighbors, Burkina Faso, Mali and Cote d'Ivoire, have experienced terror attacks and growing instability. And therefore, India sees a value in supporting Ghana's security framework, especially through training, equipment supply and defense exchanges. Also, Ghana is part of the Accra initiative, a multilateral effort aimed at addressing terrorism and transnational crime in Western Africa. India's expertise in counter-terrorism and its growing defense industry offer natural points of collaboration. Now, India's High Commissioner Manish Gupta says that Ghana remains a top destination for Indian investors with nearly 900 projects set up over the last 2 decades. He spoke to Tapas Bhattacharya.
Joining me is India's High Commission to Ghana, Manish Gupta, to talk about Prime Minister Narendra Modi's 5-nation tour, and the first stop is in Ghana. Sir, how do you see Prime Minister's visit and how that is expected to be a game changer for both countries?
It's a great privilege that Honorable Prime Minister is going to visit Ghana for the first time. So this is going to be a defining moment for this partnership. India-Ghana ties that are deep-rooted with a very rich historical legacy, and especially in West Africa, Ghana has been a long-standing partner. The energy on the streets here, especially with the Indian community, that everybody is so excited with the visit.
What are the key areas where you believe that both countries can work there?
Between India and Ghana, we have extensive complementarities between our two economies. Ghana is quite rich in natural and mining resources. On our part, we bring strong capabilities in the manufacturing, IT, technical service sectors, which this country needs the most. Between India and Ghana, one thing you will realize, as countries of the global south, we have young demographics, and secondly, tech is going to play a big role as we shape our economies for the future.
People have been talking about Ghana becoming the next oil exporter. How do you see India can take advantage of that?
Ghana is already exporting a lot of oil and gas. So there, I think it offers us an opportunity to go enter into this lithium mining sector, and where we can craft win-win outcomes for both the sides.
There's a lot of investment from India in Ghana. Could you share some of the details? What is the amount that we have been talking about?
The Indian companies have invested close to $2 billion in this country in over 900 projects, spanning the areas of agriculture, manufacturing, IT, steel, pharmaceutical sector, to name a select few. And these have been very ably complemented by the government-to-government development cooperation framework. The Indian government has invested close to another $1 billion through grants, lines of credit and buyer's credit program.
Prime Minister Modi's visit in Ghana is expected to be a game changer when it comes to both countries, and expected to be a massive, give a massive boost to the South-South cooperation and for the relationship between India and Ghana. With camera person Rakesh, this is Tapush Bhattacharya for DD India from Accra, Ghana.
Ambassador Singh, Ghana as an oasis of democracy in a volatile region. What do you make of Ghana's democratic credentials and why is it important?
Thank you. So, around the time the last prime ministerial visit from India took place, Ghana, I think that was 1995, Ghana was just on the verge of restoring democracy. And I think they have done well, most consistently. And not only have they held elections consistently, they have transferred power to opposition consistently. As I mentioned to you, President Mahama has come back, not continuously, but after a gap. So I think that kind of a bipartisanship in Ghanaian democracy is re-established. I think that is very useful because, as you have said, that in this region of ECOWAS, democracy is getting short shrift in the Sahel region. And 3 countries where coups took place have actually withdrawn from ECOWAS. Now, this shows the weakness of Nigeria, which hosts ECOWAS, and also Ghana, which traditionally dominated as larger countries ECOWAS and tried to maintain order. ECOWAS was never a great economic institute. It was largely a functional and security institution which tried to enforce democracy in the region, for which Nigeria and Ghana, their transitions from military to parliamentary style were good examples. But now they are faced with these countries who cannot face the surge of terrorism and radicalization through their own parliamentary means, and therefore have gone back to militaries. This is very tricky. So, as you rightly said in your brief, that India must work with Ghana to engage them on counter-terrorism, de-radicalization, and propping up their defense capabilities. So far, they have had many people trained in India, defense high-tech, and even people who come to other defense courses. Ghana is among the best users of what is allocated to them. Even scholarships under high-tech and others, despite the distance, they do come. So I think they have this hunger for knowledge and education. And that is why one of our most successful projects, the Center for Excellence in IT, named after Kofi Annan, is actually in Accra.
Indeed. Professor Dubey, when we talk about the optics and likely outcomes from the Prime Minister's visit to Ghana, how do, besides of course trade, development and security cooperation, how do you assess Ghana as a vaccine hub and a source of critical minerals?
I think Ghana is very important as it is located in the West Africa. And West Africa, we know, from time to time have very severe these kinds of infections and pandemic, which it confronts. It doesn't get enough support from outside. Why it doesn't do so well in terms of supporting its population, including the democracy, is also very important for us to understand. These West African countries, barring Nigeria and Ghana, who were Anglophone, got decolonized under British colonial model. All other countries that you mentioned who are part of the West Africa and who are French-speaking, they are still not decolonized. Their economy is still not decolonized. Their central bank, like our RBI, remains in France, French central bank. They cannot withdraw their own currency up more than 25%. They cannot print or value or devalue their own currency. It has to be done by France. There is a total control over them, whereas Nigeria and Ghana underwent these kind of instability over a period of time and found now stability. President Rawling, who was a military coup dictator, he, over the period of time, has stabilized the formation of democratic system, and now we see the democracy is working. Similarly, Nigeria. But Ghana is very important for us to reach out for developmental initiative, including the vaccine thing for West African region, which suffer from pandemic, do not have a good public health system, and therefore our access to Ghana is a gateway to West Africa, to Francophone countries, where developmental needs, medical needs, educational needs is something we have to explore by our presence in countries like Ghana.
Absolutely. Besides trade and investment, security and defense cooperation, people-to-people ties is one of the key pillars of any relationship, including, in this case, Ghana. The Indian diaspora in Ghana is thrilled to welcome Prime Minister Modi. It marks Prime Minister Modi's first bilateral visit to that country. It's also the first by an Indian Prime Minister to that country in 30 years. Excitement is high as the community gears up for a warm and grand reception. Tapas Bhattacharya has more.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will undertake a 5-nation tour, and the first stop is in Ghana. I have with me some of the Indian diaspora people who have come here to cheer Prime Minister Modi and to get a glimpse of the man who they've been waiting for long.
We are very much agog and very much looking forward for his visit. So I just say that we are proud of him, we are proud of India, and we are proud to have Modi ji as our Prime Minister.
It is really a very proud moment for us that our PM Modi is coming over here. The way he says Man Ki Baat is also my Man Ki Baat, he is coming here, and we are really waiting here to welcome him. He is the most respected leader in the world right now. And I would say if India can be able to see eye to eye to the even Western nations.
Becoming a Vishwa Guru, isn't it, ma'am?
It's very truly sad. So Ghana is eagerly waiting. As Modi ji is coming to Ghana, he's coming to our homes, he's coming to our stories, he's coming everywhere. Each and every citizen of Ghana is eagerly waiting for Modi ji.
We are feeling so proud that our Prime Minister is coming. So I want to add on that really, that once we come to know like Prime Minister will be here, so that all the Indians who is staying over there, they are keep talking that when he is coming, that what we are going to do, we are going to see him closely, we are going to listen him very closely. So that is what we are feeling.
He is not just a leader, he's a visionary. He has transformed and changed the India Global Index with a lot of commitment, lot of courage, and he did it. And if I talk about his dedication, Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, he did it. Yes. And really I'm very happy, and we are honored to welcome such a dynamic and powerful leader.
The Indian diaspora is eagerly waiting for Prime Minister Narendra Modi to make his first stop in the 5-nation trip that he is undertaking. Ghana will be the first stop, and it's expected to be a game changer for both the countries, especially when it comes to Indian diaspora, who are really eagerly waiting to get a glimpse of the man who they've been absolutely eulogizing, have been talking about for long. With camera person Mukur, this is Tapas Bhattacharya for GD India from Accra, Ghana.
Modi, 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 Modi.
Now, Rajendra Mishra, the director of Alma Medical Laboratory, is a member of the Indian community in Ghana. He has taken it upon himself to give medical assistance to locals, reflecting the spirit of service that defines India's engagement with the world. Mishra says people of Ghana are excited to welcome Prime Minister Modi. They're optimistic about deeper collaboration with India in healthcare and beyond.
Joining me is Rajendra Mishra, Indian diaspora member who has been working here in Ghana for long, and especially when it comes to medical infrastructure. Sir, tell us how you guys are helping. India is helping Ghana in this field.
See, India, we are Indian. We have our diagnostic center here. We are helping Ghanians a lot, and Ghanians are also, they are very cool. They are helping us a lot, but they need a lot of infrastructure. They need a lot of medical help in their remote area. In the city, we have some good hospitals, but in the remote area, we don't have any good hospital. So Indian government can help them a lot to do health facility better in the remote area. There are hospitals in the remote area, in the building, and all the technology.
Are they looking forward to Prime Minister's visit? I mean, I know a lot of people are actually talking about Prime Minister Modi. They believe that he can do a lot for Ghana.
Definitely, Ghanaians are very excited. Even we heard this news from Ghanaians. Our Prime Minister is coming. They are very excited. They are waiting a lot of things that Prime Minister will announce in the infrastructure, in there something like, let's see, technology, food technology, a lot of things, agriculture. Agriculture is very back here. So they can also help in the agriculture. See, in India, advance in the medical agriculture. So they are expecting a lot of things from Indian Prime Minister to announce, and they can do the tie-up, and they could do a lot of things.
You are a member of Indian Diaspora. How excited you are and your community to welcome Prime Minister Modi?
See, here, like as a member, we always available for our community. Anytime if we have any call that this person have problem, we send our team. Sometimes we go ourselves to help them to hospitalize in medication, and we have some team of the doctors. Doctors go there to help them. To all our Indian community and some Ghanians also.
That's the Indian Diaspora, helping the people in Ghana and making sure that India's name is called by many. They've been appreciated here, and that's the best part of Indian Diaspora. Wherever they go, they make the place their own. And with Prime Minister Narendra Modi coming here, it's a huge opportunity for them to once again put forth their community here, and at the same time looking forward to welcoming Prime Minister Modi in Accra, Ghana. With camera person Rakesh, this is Tapush Bhattacharya for GD India from Accra, Ghana.
Ambassador Singh, how do you view Prime Minister Modi's outreach to the Indian diaspora, harnessing the diaspora for public diplomacy, for furthering India's foreign policy? Has it served India well?
Indeed, it has. I think during the Prime Minister's tenure, the manner in which the diaspora has been enthused to be visible ambassadors of India in all parts of the world. Now, look at this. When I remember the 1995 Prime Ministerial visit, and at that time, there were not so many Indians. The fact that today there are nearly 15,000 Indians is a success of India's private sector FDI in Ghana. That is what brings more and more Indians in. Secondly, you see their enthusiasm. Thanks to modern technology, they are all connected back home. And their appreciation of the Prime Minister and his policies is so evident in the clips that you are showing. So not only are they devoted to India, they are devoted to India-Ghana relations. And this person from the medical laboratory that your correspondent interviewed is quite a typical Indian diaspora who will use his energies to support the people of the country that they live in. And I think he clearly said that though he runs a business at the medical laboratory, he also, I think, does pro bono work to support people in a civil society atmosphere. Now, given this, I think, what does Ghana look from the Indian diaspora? I think Ghana seeks more investment. More investment in what? I think the two big priorities of Ghana are agriculture right now and pharma, in which vaccines are mentioned. Now, you did ask Professor Dubey about vaccines. In 2023, the Ghana government opened a National Vaccine Institute, which now needs something to do. So if India or Indian companies work on that vaccine initiative and make Ghana a vaccine hub, then the facilities that Ghana has offered could become very effective. Where agriculture is concerned, again, Professor Dubey and you have mentioned the youth dividend in many African countries. They need employment, they need food security. So if you invest in agriculture, as the Common Agricultural Development Program of the African Union is encouraging all African countries to do, then I think you will be able to contribute to Ghanaian development in a very firm manner. Now, alongside this, while we have trained Ghanaians in information technology and the like, I think it is also time to increase their exposure to agricultural practices.
Right, Ambassador Singh, Professor Dubey, do stay on. We are getting some latest updates from Ghana of Prime Minister Modi's arrival at the Kotoka International Airport in Ghana's capital, Accra. This, remember, viewers, is the first leg of his 5-nation tour of the Global South. The latest news, just to bring you up to speed on this special broadcast, is that Prime Minister Modi has landed in Accra, Ghana, on the first leg of his 5-nation tour of the Global South. It is day 1 of his 2-day visit to the West African country. It is a first such visit from India in 30 years. We'll get you more from our correspondent on the ground covering the visit. But in the meantime, these are the latest visuals coming to you of the ceremonial welcome and guard of honor to Prime Minister Modi at the Kotoka International Airport in Accra, Ghana. Prime Minister Modi inspecting a guard of honor at the Kotoka Airport in Accra, Ghana. It's the first leg of his 5-nation tour of the Global South. And as we stay on these visuals, Professor Dubey, if I can bring you in, we were discussing about the strength of the Indian diaspora. Now, an interaction with the diaspora has become a hallmark of sorts of Prime Minister Modi's foreign visits. Is the diaspora becoming a consequential player, a force to reckon with in the domestic life and politics of the country they live in? And does the rising profile of the Indian diaspora worldwide bode well for New Delhi's foreign policy?
Of course it does. The Indian diaspora is global. It's around 35 million now. And in most countries, it is in the top bracket of socio-economic ladder. So it is a very important component in most of the countries. The diaspora engagement, harnessing diaspora is a globalization outcome. Several countries are doing that, but the most successful experiment that is seen in diaspora harnessing from a policy of active dissociation. From the mid-90s, we shifted to proactive association, which is seen worldwide as one of the topmost engagement policy. In first India-Africa Forum Summit, if you see the declaration, one clause talks about sharing India's diaspora harnessing technology and practices, how Africa can learn from that. Ghana has a very substantial diaspora, which is in the West and in the USA. And if you go to Ghana, in remote area, all the big houses, the Pakka houses, the multi-story houses, they belong to diaspora from the West. So diaspora is becoming much more a resource for several countries. As we would like to harness our diaspora, Ghana would like to harness its own diaspora. Somehow we had not been as successful in Africa so far in harnessing our diaspora as we had been in the West and other parts of the world. This is gradually becoming stronger for us because earlier there were suspicions of minority community, various prosperous community as not being supported by India and not being, becoming a fifth column of India, if I say that way. So now the suspicion is not there. They are using their own diaspora and they understand diaspora today is a heritage resource. It's a social capital that one needs to utilize. Similarly, in South Africa, when earlier the Indian High-Level Commission under Singhvi went to understand the diaspora, it was told diaspora is not on the table. When Juma, after some time, became president, he brought in 2 plane loads of Indians to India and said, here are your people, please connect with them and strengthen ties with South Africa. I think there is substantial increase in Indian diaspora in Ghana. If you take a flight from Emirates, from UAE to Ghana, in the Emirates flights, you will find around 60 to 70% Indians sitting there. And so there is a lot of business going on. It's a Anglophone country. It is politically stabilized. And India's economic relation with Ghana is growing. Prime Minister visit over there will connect with diaspora, and diaspora might emerge as a catalyst in promoting Indo-Ghanian relation.
Indeed, as we see on these visuals, let me recap the developments for our viewers who might be tuning in. India's Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, has landed in Accra, the capital of Ghana, the West African nation, on the first leg of his 5-nation tour of the Global South. Remember, he is on a 9-day visit, beginning in Ghana, followed by Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean, Argentina and Brazil in South America, and capping it all with a visit to, again, Africa, this time Namibia, on his way back home after completing, as I mentioned, a 5-nation tour of the Global South. It's one of the longest such visits by Prime Minister Modi in over a decade. Right, so as we see on these visuals of the ceremonial welcome being accorded to PM Modi at the Kotoka Airport in Accra, Ghana. Ambassador Singh, if I can bring you in, Professor Dubey referred to the India-Africa Forum Summit. How would you encapsulate, describe the journey of the summit? We've held 3 editions of the summit so far. How do you view its progress, and how does it compare with other such outreaches by other countries in the region and beyond?
Thank you. I'm very happy to speak about it because I was the Sherpa for the first India-Africa Summit as India's ambassador to the African Union. And I remember at that time, Ghana was one of the 15 countries invited, and President Kufuor at that time was one of the most helpful people to make sure that that summit ran well. When the second summit was held in 2011 in Addis Ababa, Ghana was not in the list of 15 countries, but then they were back when we held IAFS 3 in Delhi, because in 2015 we invited all the African countries. Now it is time for IAFS 4, and we would like to see Ghana encourage the African Union to hold this summit at the earliest and provide some of the basis on which India and Africa can collaborate, because Ghana is a crucible on which many successes of development, cooperation and investment have taken place. At the same time, Ghana is the host of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat. That is the one which opens up regional markets in Africa. And it is very important for India to engage with the Africa Continental FTA, which presently is at a low ebb. That is because of the limited trade. Professor Dubey is absolutely right that the planes are full of Indians going to Ghana and other countries. But this is the success of the small and medium enterprise, the small trader. India is second largest in number of projects, not in volume of capital in the case of Ghana. So I think we need to get the support to the Indian diaspora to do larger projects in the areas which their host country wants it. Like I mentioned, agriculture, pharma, the vaccine initiative, and already I do know that some Indians and PIOs have opened educational institutions in Ghana, which is a very positive indication.
Indeed.
So I think we need to use the Ghana model to take it up to the African Union level and bring that into fruition.
Indeed. Let me once again describe the visual that we are playing out on our screens at the moment. For the benefit of viewers tuning in to this special broadcast, we're getting to the latest on the Prime Minister's visit to Ghana. This is the first such visit to Ghana from India in 30 years. And President John Mahama himself received the Prime Minister at the Kotoka International Airport in Accra, where he was accorded a guard of honor along with a 21-gun salute. These are those visuals coming to you from the venue of that ceremonial welcome. Right, so if you're just tuning in, these are the first visuals of the arrival and ceremonial welcome, followed by a courtesy call, informal talk, as it were, with President Mahama, who received Prime Minister Modi himself at the Kotoka Airport in Accra, Ghana. Remember, this is the first leg of the Prime Minister's 5-nation tour of the Global South. We'll get with more as we go along. But if I can bring Professor Dubey in the discussion. Professor Dubey, talking about India's outreach or connect with Africa, and correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of interest insofar as Africa's candidacy of the UN Security Council is concerned. Is there scope for collaboration between India and the African countries, in generally speaking, to reform the UN Security Council going forward?
I think there is greater interest in Africa as well as in India for reforming United Nations Security Council. There is no disagreement in that with Africa. Fact that India wants to be in Security Council and seek support from these 55 countries, which constitutes Africa, is also important, but Africa has its own priority. It does support India candidature in principle, but it wants to be represented at least by 2 members in the United Nations Security Council. So there had been effort by Indian diplomats to seek more and more support. There has been verbal support. Several countries have agreed to that. But overall, the issue remains that whenever Security Council reforms takes place, how India and Africa together are going to be placed. Who is going to represent Africa? A major problem with African countries out of 55, even if they want to, who are going to be these 2? So they have the issue, but in principle, they do support India's candidatures, and Indian efforts in that direction had got support from many of them.
Right, Professor Dubey, Ambassador Singh, do stay on. I'll come back to you momentarily. In the meantime, let's take you back to Accra, where the Indian diaspora in Ghana is thrilled to welcome Prime Minister Modi. It marks Prime Minister Modi's first bilateral visit to that country. It's also the first by an Indian Prime Minister to that country in 30 years. Excitement is high as the community gears up for a warm and grand reception. Tapas Bhattacharya has more.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will undertake a 5-nation tour, and the first stop is in Ghana. I have with me some of the Indian diaspora people who have come here to cheer Prime Minister Modi and to get a glimpse of the man who they've been waiting for long.
We are very much agog and very much looking forward for his visit. So I just say that we are proud of him, we are proud of India, and we are proud to have.
Right, and we'll get the latest visuals of the same in just a bit from our colleague on the ground covering the visit for us, Tapas Bhattacharya. Remember, Prime Minister Modi has landed in Accra, Ghana on the first leg of a 5-nation tour of the Global South. We'll get to the latest in just a bit. Right, in the meantime, let me pull up some more news for our viewers about India-Ghana relations. In a groundbreaking step towards food self-sufficiency, Ghana has launched a climate-resilient wheat in collaboration with India's Arima Farms and the CSIR Crops Research Institute. With wheat imports crossing $400 million annually, this project aims to cut dependency and boost local farming. My colleague Tapas Bhattacharya spoke exclusively to Arima Farms' Managing Director Salai Manikyam, who highlighted how South-South cooperation is driving agricultural innovation and a new chapter in India-Ghana partnership is being sown. She also spoke about how Ghanaians admire and follow Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Take a listen.
Wheat has been introduced to Ghana by them, along with CSIR, one of India's prominent institute. Isn't it, ma'am?
Yes, please. So we have brought wheat after a research of 2 years along with the CSIR, their crop research institute in Kumasi. We thought that was one of the crops which could be indigenously grown here, developed here.
You mentioned the fact that CSIR, one of India's premier institute, was working with you people. To shed some light on what was the whole thing was, how many years you guys were working?
We have Arima Farms, we have MOU with CSIR, and we are working jointly in research for few crops. And one of it was wheat, which we have successfully announced in Feb. And we have few other crops which we are developing together. We work there. The CSIR in Ghana has 13 institutes. So we work with various institutes for various aspects of the research.
Ambassador Singh, you've served in the Indian Foreign Ministry, so I have to ask you this in terms of India's Africa Connect. Correct me if I'm wrong, but India today has a mission in almost every country on the African continent, is it not?
Yes, I think other than 6 countries, we have a mission everywhere. So since 2018, I think 18 new missions were sanctioned, of which 17 have opened. Ghana, of course, has among the oldest missions. I want to comment on what you just showed.
Sure.
This was perfect. Indian technology in agriculture helping Ghana attain food security. This is exactly what I was trying to say we ought to be doing. So I am very heartened to see this. May I also comment on the UN Security Council?
Sure, please do.
So, Africa has the Esulvini consensus, which essentially says that Africa must get 2 permanent seats and I think 3 or 4 more non-permanent seats on a reformed UN Security Council, and these permanent seats must be with veto, but who the permanent seats will be decided by Africa. Now, this is certainly an untenable position. Almost 40 plus African countries in various bilateral documents over the last 20 years have declared their support for India as a permanent member of the UN Security Council if the opportunity ever arose. The problem is, how do you get to that opportunity? Now, the African Union set up a committee of 10, and Ghana is one of those 10 countries which is supposed to canvass the African position in the UN and its members, or report back that the position needs alteration. They have never in the last 20 years reported that the position needs alteration. So they remain mired in the Esulvini consensus, which does not let them move forward or backwards. So I have a suspicion that they are not part of the solution and certainly not doing themselves a world of good by sticking to one position that they adopted in 2005.
Let me also touch upon another aspect or dimension of the India-Africa Connect. Ambassador Singh, you spoke about possibility of cooperation in agriculture, energy security. You spoke about development partnership. What can you tell us about India's development partnership with Ghana? Is there scope for cooperation in third countries in Africa?
Yes. I think Professor Dubey has mentioned the ECOWAS idea. So the ECOWAS brings together 15 countries, but 3 have now walked out.
Right.
12 countries who are, some are Anglophone, some Francophone, some Portuguese speaking, but it brings them together. And the ECOWAS has a bank, the ECOWAS Bank for Investment and Development. That bank is the largest recipient of lines of credit from India to any institution in Africa. And they further lend it to ECOWAS members, including Ghana. So while in our records, we see what India has directly given Ghana bilaterally. Ghana has also benefited from Indian credit lines given to the EBIT. Now, what shall we do now? I mentioned that the traditional form of credit is not working. Ghana, in fact, is unable to service old lines of credit, and even the buyer's credits that they took for certain roads and railways, they are not able to return, and under IMF restrictions, those suffer even more. So what you need is a PPP project or a public, private-public partnership or straight investment. Now, one of the things being mentioned are critical minerals. Now, like gold, Ghana has also got critical minerals, but these are all difficult to mine. Rather than look for mining, India should join forces with third countries and support processing of minerals in Ghana. Let other larger countries invest in the mining. We should join the processing. We are better at technology than in mining investments. So I think that is where a trilateral partnership in Ghana with the potent partner like Australia, for instance, who wants also to search for critical minerals. And if you see the Quad Foreign Minister statement, there is now a critical minerals strategic initiative of the Quad. So I think we should work with partners so that our companies don't have to bear the economic brunt of the entire investment to processing segment, but take one part of it and contribute to a supply chain.
All right. May I request our guests to stay on? We will come back to you momentarily. But in the meantime, time for a very short break here on this special broadcast. Keep watching DD India. Don't go anywhere just yet.
Welcome to Haryana, where the indomitable spirit of humanity unites. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam.
Welcome back. You're watching a special broadcast here on DD India. We are getting to the latest on the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's ongoing visit to Ghana in Western Africa. Remember, he has landed in Accra, the capital of Ghana, where he was received by President Mahama himself at the airport in Kotoko and accorded a ceremonial welcome at the venue. The two leaders also had informal talks at the airport before the PM departed for his hotel. We'll get you the visuals from his hotel also in just a bit, where he interacted with the diaspora as well. Remember, Ghana is home to a large Indian diaspora who are becoming a critical player to reckon with in the life and politics of Ghana, as in many other countries around the world. So we'll get you the latest on that front as well in just a bit. These are the visuals, if you are just joining us, of the two principals, Prime Minister Modi and President Mahama, meeting after he reached Kotoko Airport in Accra on the first leg of a 5-nation tour of the Global South. Remember, it's the longest such visit by PM Modi in over a decade. It will take him next to Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean, Argentina and Brazil in South America, and followed by Namibia in Africa on the last leg of his 5-nation tour. We still have with us our guests, Ambassador Singh and Professor Dubey. Professor Dubey, coming to you now, we are discussing about the development partnership. Now, the Indian approach to development partnership can be described as not just giving people on the African continent the fish, but also teaching them how to fish. That puts India in a league of its own, is it not?
Yes, I think that's very important because that's our strength. We don't have a strength of China in terms of financing the big project and doing that. But what we do is also in some way request based, and it is also something that leads to development of the people, not just the development of infrastructures and strengthening the regime in the power. So whether human resources, whether capacity building, whether education, whether medical support, all of them impact people. So this becomes non-controversial and people benefit from that. Unlike the big project which China and other countries do in Africa, it's more regime-centric and more just visible, but the people may not get as much benefit as what we do. So our developmental approach is more people-centric, non-controversial, and is something which political leadership as well the people like as such.
Indeed. Let me in the meantime pull up some more news for the benefit of our viewers watching this special broadcast. In the heart of Accra stands the Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park. It's a tribute to Ghana's founding father and its first president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Clad in Italian marble and crowned with a black star of unity, the monument stands as a powerful symbol of Ghana's journey to freedom.
I'm in Accra city, the capital of Ghana, and here at this Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park, I am here. It's a place where Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be coming. This is the place dedicated to the first president of Ghana, and I have with me Dr. Collins, the executive director of this particular memorial park. Sir, Prime Minister Modi is coming here. It's an excitement for you also that, you know, the first president, the memorial park, and our own Prime Minister from India is coming here. How do you feel?
We feel very great. We feel very great. India and Ghana have shared very rich history together. We have all been partners in the struggle for colonial liberation or liberation from colonial rule. And so it's an amazing time for us to receive the Prime Minister. We are grateful. We are looking forward to seeing him, and we'll be here waiting for him.
Right. Also, sir, this is the place where the first president of Ghana was buried along with his wife, and this particular place looks like an upside, sword. To tell me the exact meaning of this, and how does that signify this current scenario in Ghana?
So this symbol actually
Right, let's get you some more visuals from Accra of the Indian Prime Minister's interaction with the Indian diaspora in the capital of Ghana. These are the latest visuals coming to you of him meeting and greeting the diaspora. Remember, the Indian diaspora is a consequential force in the life and politics of Ghana. There are 15,000 odd Indian community members living and working in Ghana, and they are an excited lot, as you can see on your screens, waving the Indian flag and also meeting and greeting the Prime Minister on what is the first such visit to Ghana from India in 30 years. And as we were discussing with our guests, this has become a hallmark of sorts for the Prime Minister. Every time he travels abroad, he makes it a point to connect, to interact with the diaspora. In every country he travels to, he meets them, greets them, talks to them, inquires about their well-being from them. And in doing so, he has elevated the diaspora to a whole new level, and they become a consequential force in the life and politics of the country they live in, including, as you can see on your screens, in Ghana, the Western African country, which is the first leg of his 5-nation tour of the Global South. Right, if you're just tuning in, you're getting the latest visuals from Ghana's capital, Accra, of India's Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi's visit to that country, where he is landed in Accra, received by President John Mahama, and he is now greeting and meeting the diaspora upon his arrival in the capital city. Right, and as we see on these visuals, let me get one last comment in from Ambassador Singh. Ambassador Singh, on balance, as we look forward to the substantive talks to take place between India and Ghana, what do you make of the optics and likely outcomes from those talks, Ambassador Singh?
Thank you. So, the fact that President Mahama personally went to the airport to receive the Prime Minister is a very important honor. And I think normally protocol does not follow this, but he has done it. Now, why has he done it? So one thing I think we must understand, that African countries look up to India as a model of democratic, pluralistic development which they can emulate. Their other partners from East Asia or Europe may do more, but what India gives them is a model they can aspire to. And I think that is where this people to people and heart to heart connect comes. What you will see tomorrow is the revival of certain old agreements, but you will see many new agreements which will open the path to new investment and PPP partnerships, plus focusing on technology, DPI, agriculture, vaccines, and you will see the emergence of a modern India-Ghana relationship.
Indeed, just to recap quickly for the benefit of viewers who are watching this special broadcast, the Prime Minister has landed in Ghana on the first leg of his 5-nation tour of the Global South. After the ceremonial welcome at the airport and at his hotel, the Prime Minister will hold certain bilateral meetings in the next few hours ahead. MOUs will be signed after the talks end, and PM Modi and President Mahama will then deliver joint press statements. A dinner will bring the curtain down on day 1 of his visit to Ghana. On Wednesday, day 2, he'll interact with the diaspora and also address the Ghanaian Parliament. We'll get you all that on our continuing coverage here on DD India. And may I thank our guests for making time for our special broadcast, Ambassador Gurjeet Singh and Professor Ajay Kumar Dubey, for joining us and sharing your thoughts and perspectives with our viewers at home and abroad. Thank you for your time. Much appreciated. Right, so before we close, let me recap the developments for you. The Prime Minister has landed in Accra, Ghana on the first leg of his 5-nation tour of the Global South. He was received at the Kotoko Airport by President Mahama of Ghana. This is the first such visit from India to Ghana in 30 years, and it's one of the longest such visits by Prime Minister Modi in over a decade. It's the first leg of his tour of the Global South that will also take him to Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean, Argentina and Brazil in South America, and Namibia on his way back home on the last and final leg of his 5-nation tour of the Global South. And here you can see him interact with the Indian diaspora in Ghana's capital, Accra. Right, so before we close, let me recap once again for the benefit of viewers tuning in. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has begun his 5-nation tour of the Global South. He has reached Accra in Ghana, where he was received at the Kotogo airport by President John Mahama himself. He was then accorded a ceremonial welcome and a guard of honor with a 21-gun salute. And here you can see on your screens the Prime Minister interacting with the Indian diaspora, which is becoming consequential in every country they live in around the world, including, as you can see on your screens right now, in Ghana, the Western African country, which is the first leg of the Prime Minister's 5-nation tour of the Global South. Right, and if you're just tuning in, we're getting you some more visuals of a grand welcome organized for the Prime Minister at his hotel in Ghana's capital, Accra.
तो आप ये देख रहे हैं।
So a perfect blend of India and Africa's rich cultural heritage and traditions there for you. Right, if you're just tuning in, let me quickly recap the developments for you. The Prime Minister has reached Ghana as part of his 5-nation tour of the Global South. He is now in Accra, the capital of Ghana, and he was received personally by the President of Ghana, President John Mahama, at the Kotogo Airport, where he was given a ceremonial welcome and a guard of honor with a 21-gun salute. He also interacted with Diaspora, and at his hotel he was also given a warm welcome, resplendent in the rich cultural traditions of India and Africa. Right, if you're just tuning in, you're watching a special broadcast here on DD India of Prime Minister Modi's 5-nation tour of the Global South that has taken him first to Ghana, where he has reached Accra, and we'll get you more on that as we go along. But for now, it's a wrap on this special broadcast. But news continues here on DD India. You can catch all the latest updates on our social media, mobile and digital platforms. Thanks for watching. Bye.